You complete your assignment, I'm going to go ahead and attach this video, and this video is going to walk you through how to do it and ask you questions as you go to hopefully help you grasp the concept a little bit better. So right here we are looking at the box of the rectangular prism, and it wants to know what is the surface area. So what we have to do is we have to go through and we have to find the area of each one of these. Now this is a rectangular prism, and rectangles have an area formula of what? Okay, so you should have found, you should have found that your area formula should have been base times height. So we're going to go through, and for each of these, we're going to find the base times height. So looking at this, what two numbers should I multiply right here? You should have found that you should multiply 3.5 times 2.5. And that's going to give, you should have found that that gives you 8.75. All right, and then I look at my next one, which is right here. And we are missing this piece right here. Well, what is that piece right there? You should have found that that piece right there is 3, because if this piece right here is 3, well, that's the same length as this piece right here. So both of those would give us 3. What would you multiply for this? You should have found that you would multiply 2 times 3, and that's going to give you 6. Now, if you remember, rectangular prisms are twinsies. So what is the area of this right here? You should have gotten 8.75 because in rectangular prisms, every other one is the exact same. So these two match. And so what would be the area of this right here? This right here, you should have gotten 6 because these two match. All right, then we have our bases. So let's take a look at our bases. We're first going to look at this one. We are missing the height. So what do you think the height is? You should have found that the height is 2. There are 2 ways that you could have figured this out. Remember, this is a box. In order for boxes to close, sorry about that. In order for boxes to close, the sides that are right next to each other have to match up. So if this right here is 2, then this right here would also be 2. Or you could have looked down here. Since these bases are matching sets, if this has a side of 2 right here, then this has a side of 2 right here, and therefore this would also be 2 right there. All right, so what are you going to multiply for this right here? You should have found that you would multiply 2.5 times 2, which is going to give you 5. And if that one is 5, what's this one? You should have found that it's 5. Now, it asks for the surface area, so what do you do to find the surface area? You should have found that you should go through and add all of these sides up together. So let's do it. We have 8.75 plus 6 plus 8.75 plus 6 plus 5 plus 5. Okay, what did you get whenever you did that? You should have found that you got 39.5. All right, so this was a review from yesterday. So let's go down here. This is from today. Tucker made a box for his cat to sleep in that was the shape of a rectangular prism. Okay, so that's an important detail. The dimensions of the box were 2 feet by 2 feet by 4 feet. What is the volume of the box in cubic feet? Remember, our volume formula for all prisms is what? You should have found that it was area of the base times height. Well, area of the base means that we have to go back and we have to find what the area of the base is. Our base is a rectangle. What is the formula for a rectangle? You should have found that the formula for a rectangle is base times height. So, how would I rewrite my formula to be better? I should have that the better formula would be base times height times height. A better way to write this would be length times width times height, which just means that all I have to do is go through and multiply each of my dimensions. So I have 2 times 2 times 4, which would give me what? You should have found 16 feet cubed. Let's move on to the next one. It wants to know what is the volume in cubic inches. Well, this is a rectangular prism. Well, what's the base formula for a rectangular prism? We know it as base times height. I'm going to write it as length times width. And what is the formula for all prisms? You should have found that it's area of the base times height. Well, what's the better formula? if I don't want to say area of the base? I would say length times width times height. What would we plug in for this? I actually covered it up a little bit, but if you look at your computer screen, you would find that this is 18 right here. Sorry about that. So what would we plug in for this? We would do 5 times 4 times 18. And what do you get whenever you do that? You should have found that you have a volume formula of 300, or a volume of 360 units cubed. Moving on to the next one, what kind of shape do we have here? You should have found that this is a rectangular prism. And your volume formula for all prisms is what? You should have found area of the base times height. Well, what is the formula for our area of the base? Remember, our base is a rectangle, so what is the area formula for a rectangle? You should have found length times width, or you could have said base times height, but since it's volume, length times width is a little bit easier to deal with. So what would my better formula be? What would I say instead of saying area of the base? I would say length times width times height. What would I plug in for that? We would do 2.5 times 12 times 16. And what do you find whenever you should have found 480 inches cubed. If we look at this right here, what kind of shape is this? This is a rectangular prism. Well, what is the formula for all prisms? All prisms have a formula of area of the base times height. Well, what is the formula for our area of the base? Our base is a rectangle, so we would say length times width. And how would I rewrite that formula to where it makes more sense in my brain? Instead of saying area of the base, I should have length times width times height. What would I plug in for this? I would do 14 times 11 times 12. And what do you find whenever you do that? You should have found 1,848 centimeters cubed. Paulina got 54 out of 60 questions correct on a test. What percent did she make? Now, we have 2% formulas that we actually have to have memorized, and it's been a while since we've seen them, so I'm going to show you 2 of those examples right here. Which one of these would you pick? You should have picked part over whole equals percent over 100. And the reason why is this. The other option was change over original. Well, nothing changed in this. It just says that she got 54 out of 60 questions correct. Nothing changed. She didn't increase the amount of questions she got correct, so we wouldn't use this formula. We would instead use part over whole. Well, how would you fill in this formula? We would fill it in by saying 54 over 60 equals x over 100. Why is the percent x? Because we don't have a percent. It doesn't give us one. We're looking for it. So that's going to be our x. What do I do to solve this? You should have said cross multiply, which means I would do 60 times x, which gives me what? 60x. And then I would do 54 times 100, which gives me what? You should have found 5400. What do I do now? You should have said divide. To get rid of the multiplication that's happening between 60 and x, to get rid of the multiplication that's happening, we divide, and we divide both sides by 60. Remember, we can always cross off our zeros right here, and what do you get? You should have found that you got 90. 54 divided by 6 is 9, and then you just tack on a 0, and you get 90. So she got 90% correct. Hopefully this helped, and if you have any other questions, just let me know.